One of the most fascinating and often perplexing elements of the Wheel of Time series is the longevity of certain Aes Sedai. While not all Aes Sedai live to be centuries old, a few of the most prominent and powerful sisters seem to defy the natural laws of aging. But this extended lifespan isn't simply the result of magical powers. It is the result of a careful blend of magic training and, for some, sheer willpower. Let's explore why certain Aes Sedai live for over 300 years and what it means within the context of the series. The secret of the One Power. The primary factor contributing to the long lives of Aes Sedai is their deep connection to the One Power. Channeling the One Power itself doesn't grant immortality, but it does slow the aging process. Over the course of their training, Aes Sedai learn to manipulate the power not just for battle or healing, but to maintain their own health. This connection to the One Power enables them to resist many of the physical weaknesses and ailments that come with age. This phenomenon is particularly noticeable in Aes Sedai, who are deeply attuned to Sedar, the female half of the One Power. The One Power nourishes and sustains them in ways that other people cannot access. It has a stabilizing effect on their bodies, allowing them to heal faster and ward off diseases that would normally be fatal. In essence, the One Power acts as both a shield and a salve for its wielders. This doesn't make them immune to injury or death, but it gives them the power to slow the ravages of time itself. The longer an Aes Sedai can channel with skill and discipline, the more she can elongate her lifespan. Some sisters go to great lengths to avoid exposing themselves to danger or strain, knowing that prolonged periods of stress or injury could eventually take a toll on their physical bodies. This careful balance between power and preservation is a delicate one, but for some, it's the key to living well beyond what would normally be expected for an average person. The healing powers of Sedar. While the One Power in general aids in the maintenance of life, it is Sedar, the female half of the One Power, that offers a unique advantage when it comes to the healing of ailments and wounds. Aes Sedai, who are adept in healing, have access to the deepest forms of restorative magic, enabling them to slow the aging process and recover from physical traumas with astonishing speed. The healing arts are, however, not just about mending the body. They also encompass the mind and spirit. Healing can alleviate psychological burdens, helping Aes Sedai to maintain mental clarity and focus throughout their extended lives. By continuously healing themselves, Aes Sedai are able to preserve their vitality, preventing the exhaustion or mental degradation that would otherwise accumulate with age. Many of the Aes Sedai who have lived for centuries, such as Moiraine Sedai and others, have a deep mastery of healing. They are able to restore their bodies to youthful vigor when needed, and in some cases, they may go for years or even decades without showing significant signs of aging. This mastery allows them to appear as though they are still in their prime, even as the centuries pass. However, this doesn't come without its costs. The One Power is not a cure-all, and even the strongest Aes Sedai may experience limitations to how much they can heal themselves before their bodies reach their natural end. The bond between Aes Sedai and their warders. Another contributing factor to the longevity of certain Aes Sedai is their bond with their warders. The warder bond is an intimate connection between the Aes Sedai and her chosen protector, one that allows them to share emotions, physical sensations, and even mental thoughts. While the warder bond doesn't directly extend an Aes Sedai's life, it does provide her with a crucial source of emotional and psychological strength. The bond of the warder is particularly important for the Aes Sedai who might face great stress in their duties. Warders often act as emotional stabilizers, offering their Aes Sedai companionship and protection. A warder can keep her grounded, help mitigate the effects of trauma, and ensure that the Aes Sedai remains in control during difficult moments. For Aes Sedai who have bonded with multiple warders, such as the Green Anja, it's clear that the emotional support provided by this relationship contributes significantly to their well-being. A sense of togetherness, in turn, helps preserve their mental health over centuries. In contrast, when an Aes Sedai loses a warder, the grief is profound and can result in physical and mental deterioration. The loss of a warder has been known to cause a near collapse in some Aes Sedai, and, in extreme cases, can lead to a short-term decline in their health. This highlights the duality of the warder bond. It can elevate an Aes Sedai's ability to endure, but it also makes her vulnerable to the loss of that bond. For those who maintain strong bonds, the emotional connection can be a cornerstone to their longevity. The role of experience and wisdom. Aes Sedai, who live for centuries, do so in part because they are among the most experienced and knowledgeable individuals in the world. They are taught from a young age to preserve their minds and bodies through constant practice, meditation, and mental fortitude. Their training involves more than just mastering the one power. It also includes a deep understanding of politics, human nature, and the world around them. This intellectual wealth gives them the ability to navigate challenges with a patience and wisdom that grows over time. Aes Sedai, who live for long periods, also accumulate vast knowledge of the world's histories, peoples, and conflicts. Their longevity allows them to observe the long arcs of history unfold, making them invaluable advisors and strategists. Their perspectives are informed by lifetimes of experiences, one reason why Aes Sedai are often sought out for counsel, even by the most powerful leaders. With age comes not only the mastery of the one power, but also an understanding of how the world works. In this way, Aes Sedai, who have lived for centuries, hold the keys to power, and they wield that power with a patience that comes from long years of observation. Why do some Aes Sedai live for over 300 years? While Aes Sedai live for extended lifetimes, their longevity isn't entirely without consequences. There is a spiritual toll that comes with living for hundreds of years, especially when a character like Moiraine Daemondred or Liandrin Garel lives through era-defining wars and political upheavals. Time is not a neutral force. It shifts perspectives, makes people wiser, but also more distant from the lives of the common folk they originally sought to protect. Aes Sedai, who lived for centuries, often find themselves trapped in a world that changes around them, leaving them alienated from the very people they swore to serve. For example, Moiraine, who has lived much longer than she lets on, finds herself having to adjust to a world where the world's events continue to progress despite her timelessness. The fact that Aes Sedai like her can remain so emotionally distant from the world they affect makes their long lives both a gift and a curse. On the one hand, their continued existence allows them to gather the wisdom necessary to guide the world. But on the other hand, it creates a perpetual cycle of loss, alienation, and grief. To survive centuries while seeing comrades, families, and entire empires perish is not something easily borne. This emotional toll adds a darker layer to their prolonged existence. Longevity comes with the price of watching one's loved ones, allies, and even their own ideals wither and fade away. The Aes Sedai who lived for centuries often become so steeped in their own agendas, so consumed by the massive implications of their goals, that they risk losing sight of the world they were supposed to protect. This loss of connection, a byproduct of centuries spent in service to the light, creates emotional isolation, a subtle but pervasive feeling of disconnection from reality. Through centuries of existence, Aes Sedai come to learn that no matter how much they can influence the world, they are forever separated from its people, forever doomed to watch them live and die within the blink of an eye. This creates an existential dilemma that challenges them to justify their longevity. Is it worth it? Does their work outweigh the loneliness of never truly belonging anywhere? The unique role of Aes Sedai in the greater world. To understand why some Aes Sedai live for hundreds of years, we also need to consider their role in the broader social and political structures within the world. The White Tower is a place of influence and quiet power. For Aes Sedai, their longevity is not only a function of their magical abilities, but also their position as spiritual and political advisors to kings, queens, and emperors. Those who live the longest often serve as the repositories of history, bearers of knowledge, and guardians of the world's most sacred mysteries. In the books, it's clear that Aes Sedai are respected, feared, and relied upon by the ruling class, whether it be to secure peace or maintain control over territories. The most influential Aes Sedai often live for centuries, navigating through complex political landscapes and playing the long game. They are not simply powerful women. They are also masters of diplomacy and strategy. Their extended lives make them invaluable in shaping the course of history, whether it's through quietly advising rulers or orchestrating covert operations that influence entire nations. For some Aes Sedai, Their extended lifespan is both a burden and a necessity. They use their longevity to observe the world as it changes around them. From their seats in a White Tower, they watch centuries unfold, learning from the ebb and flow of nations, the rise and fall of dynasties. They become the stewards of time, subtly guiding the world's course with an awareness only gained through their long years of observation. But in the process, they also risk losing themselves in this perpetual dance with time. Their roles often become so entwined with their commitment to the Tower's mission that they forget their own individual desires and dreams. In the end, the Tower becomes a sort of prison, where their lives are no longer their own, but instead devoted to a cause much larger than themselves. The influence of the Forsaken. While most Aes Sedai's extended lifespans come from their mastery of the One Power, the Forsaken offer a starkly different example of how immortality is pursued. Unlike Aes Sedai, who live long lives by keeping their focus on the light and maintaining their connection to Sedar, the Forsaken pursued immortality through darker, far more self-serving means. They sought the Dark One's favor and, in return, were granted unnatural longevity. The Forsaken, through their pact with the Dark One, achieve lifespans that stretch across centuries, preserved by the Shadow's power. These immortals are not only powerful in the One Power, but are also sustained by the Dark One's influence, making them a direct contrast to the Aes Sedai. Where Aes Sedai achieve longevity through self-discipline, mastery, and purpose, the Forsaken's immortality is an artificial corrupting force. The Forsaken are not just resistant to the ravages of time. They are actively preserved by the Dark One's essence, so that they can continue to serve his twisted will indefinitely. This distinction in how immortality is achieved highlights the duality at the heart of the Wheel of Time. The idea that both light and shadow offer eternal life, but the cost is very different. Aes Sedai, who live for centuries, do so at a moral price, but they are not enslaved by their immortality. In contrast, the Forsaken are bound to the Dark One's will for all eternity, unable to escape the chains of their own corrupt desires. Their longevity isn't a blessing, it's a curse. Aes Sedai may live long lives, but the Forsaken are condemned to eternal servitude, a grim reflection of the price they paid for immortality. Final thoughts. In the Wheel of Time, longevity is both a gift and a curse. For Aes Sedai, it is not just the extension of life, but a constant reminder of the sacrifices they'd make for the greater good. To live for centuries is to witness the collapse of kingdoms, the deaths of friends, and the erosion of ideals. Aes Sedai, especially those who lived for over 300 years, become both the stewards of history and the bearers of its grief. While their power allows them to influence the course of history, it also isolates them from the very people they protect. Yet, the longer they live, the more they risk losing themselves in the larger web of fate. Time is not neutral for these women. It is a force that molds them, tests them, and leaves them in its wake. For the Aes Sedai who live for centuries, their continued existence is not just an act of endurance. It is an intricate balancing act between wielding the One Power and maintaining their own humanity. Longevity in the Wheel of Time is not something freely given. It is earned through service, sacrifice, and the determination to endure despite the immense emotional and psychological costs. And for some, it's the one price they are willing to pay to make sure the pattern is upheld and the world is protected.